Okay, well, hello everyone. Good morning to those of us in the Western Hemisphere, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone else. I hope everyone is doing well. I think Nico was saying that I'm not feeling well. Had a fever or something, so I hope Nico is improving and doing better. So today we had an interesting experience yesterday. Let me check this. That's actually not that bad. Interesting. All right. So yesterday we got asked a question during the live stream about another topic, another question that was being asked. So we solved the tax question, but then we got asked a very interesting question from a very popular website for solving problems. So I did pretty good. I didn't sit down and program any of it, but I did think about it a lot. So let's see. I think we use this down here. Here was our example. So let's grab this and put this inside. Don't need that. Don't need that. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 1. Add it in here. So, all right. What the premise of this question is at first, so that's actually kind of the title of this video, is we're going to be going through the building blocks of starting a pseudo algorithm and then turning it into Python brain. So you guys have heard me say Python brain, human brain, all of these. And what I really want to drive home, is the first thing that I did is when I was going through here and I was discussing with, was it Janth? I can't remember. I think it was. Oh, let me point out. Hope you're feeling better at Nico. Yep. At everyone, I'm live. There we go. Yep, send to everybody. All right, think I got everything. I have the audio on. Lighting looks good. Does my hair look yellow? I think it does. I have very thin hair. I used to have a lot of hair. I was talking with one of my kids the other day. So, all right. So back to what I was doing. Is the first question is I began doing, hey Nico, hope you're feeling better. So one of the first things I asked was I wanted to go through the scenarios. So we were given examples of, actually, I just realized we cut all this out. Let's go back and grab all of this. Copy. There we go. All right. But what I really want to draw your attention to is what the first thing I asked was, well, what happens when this happens? So I did not appreciate when I began working with my second project manager at Walmart, the last one that I was working with before I left, or before I came independent, and I was doing this all on my own. We would just sit and think about basically everything that could go wrong or that might go wrong, and then we began to be prepared for it. So it used to drive me nuts. I used to think it was a waste of time, and until it began saving us time. So what I really want to draw your attention to is the first question and it became so ingrained. But the first question that I asked was, well, what happens when this happens? What would expect, or what would we want the output to be? What would we expect to happen? And when you're doing these building blocks, so it's a version of a clarifying question. So when you're asking, and it kind of goes back to the premise of what I wanted to say, do you understand the problem? Because if you do not understand the problem, you're going to be trying to solve the wrong problem. So I can't emphasize that enough, is that please make sure. And like I said, that whole concept has been drilled into me. Well, if you're sleepy, go to sleep. That's okay. We can hang out. We can hang out tomorrow. But if you're not feeling well, you need to. Because look, when you get older, you're gonna wish you took care of yourself when you were younger. I know that. Don't think about you as a 60 or 70-year-old person, and think, man, I wish I would have taken better care of myself. So the only thing so far in my youth that I'm glad that I did, and I listened to myself, because I almost quit a sport my senior year of high school. And this is a side note. I was like, if I quit, this is something that is going to kill me or drive me nuts in my 40s or 50s. So with your health, don't have somebody talk to you about it. Think of your 60 or 70-year-old self going, I wish you would have taken better care of us. So think about that. All right, so the point to drive home about this is, do you have an understanding of how this is going to work? Because if you do not, so asking clarifying questions, asking scenarios, asking what happens when this happens is ideal. Have a long discussion with your business partner. Have a long discussion with your whoever you're building whatever for. You've got to be, I think I described storyboarding. I'm kind of obsessed with movie making. I love the stories about how comedians work on their jokes, work on their lines, work on the craft of making it better. Storytelling, how movie directors, movie producers have storyboards made so everybody in the room has the same vision and they're going in the same way. So when you're designing or solving a problem, especially with a foreign language like SQL or C or Python, you have got to understand what the true problem is. So I'm really going to hone on that for the next minute or so. What's up, Saga? Glad you're here. I don't think I've seen you here before, but glad you're here. If you've not hit that like button, go ahead and do that for me. What we're doing is we're talking about basically before you start trying to solve any problem. I love clarifying questions, and that is extremely important to anything that you are doing. All right, so I don't know how far we're going to get with this today, but we are going to start. So we're going to be trying to solve this of how many legal parentheses, the longest valid legal parentheses scenario. So first, before we get into anything of counting how many variables we need, we have got to come up with a pseudo algorithm to do this. And like I said in the title, edge cases. If you have got to think of the most obscure scenarios so you can be prepared. Because the first thing I asked yesterday before we got started was, well, what happens if interpretation? There is subtle interpretation, because in the examples that they gave in the code example, it was just pretty little parentheses like this. And then long and short, then they come and they did not give an embedded example, or excuse me, a nested parentheses. So one of the examples was this. And then that one right there. So let's go ahead and look at this and add, let's separate this and add some space here so we can see it. Oops. And there. So this is a total of 8 legal parentheses, because here we go. We're going to do pairs. So 2, 4, 6, then other side, and then 8. So these nested are completely okay. So we've got to come up with a way, and we're going to go through a pseudo algorithm, like I said. So we're going to devise this with our human brain. How does our human brain know that this is legal? So, all right, open. My first attempt is going to be open, 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 close, 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 because that is exactly how I think I showed. Like when I'm actually doing something, I will literally, it's what I default to, so I'm going to try it that way. So the example was list.range 5. So I'll start here and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So open, 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 close, close, close. That's my first attempt. And let's comment that out. All right. So let's just see if this works. So I have an open parentheses, an open parentheses. So I'm counting my open. And so then if I go open, 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 closed, that's 1. Close again, then that's 2. Close 3. Okay, so I have 3 nested. So that's completely legal. Then open, closed. And then each time, is this the longest one so far? So let's get started. All right. So if you're just jumping on, what we're doing is we're going through a challenge from a platform that is very notable that we got asked yesterday. You can follow all this. The discussion was down on the Discord server. If you've not joined the Discord server, go ahead and click that invite in the link down in the description. And if you are just joining us, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. And if you are brand new and you've never been to the this channel or any of our streams in the past few weeks, go ahead and drop a comment down below so I can say hello. So let's just do all right. Let's test this really easy scenario right here. Let's start. We're going to start simple, and then we're going to go complicated. So first we need to have an open count, close count. All right. Then temp 0, then longest, 0. So somewhat dynamic. So it's going to be very akin to our dynamic sliding window. So if you've not ever seen any of my sliding dynamic window or a dynamic window, it's going to be very, very close to this, because as we're moving through, we're checking to see if it goes and increases. Because right now, here, to give you a little bit of a backstory, I thought the open and close parentheses were going to be very similar to this, where you would have open and closed, close, close. So we would stop incrementing our pairs. So this temp would now become our longest. So human brain to Python brain right here. Then we'd begin counting. So our temp longest is 2. Is that longer than 3? No, because then we stop incrementing. We reset to 0. Then we come over here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, this supersedes our previous longest. So our longest of legal parentheses is a pair of 4, so 8. Then we found out that it can also be nested, but we did not see that in our example. We only found that out after the fact when you ran the code on the platform. So we need to be also prepared for this, which this would return 8. And that's what we're doing right now. So what we're doing, because my brain goes open, open, closed. So that it's going to have to be, how is my human brain deciphering this? Because I know my eyes are going, well, I have an open and closed. Well, how did I do that? Can you explain this? Because there is a step that is happening in our decision making that we are not always aware of. So you have to take time to decide, well, how did you decide that? How did you figure that out? All right. So I believe the way that I looked at this is I went here and I found one closed. So if I have an open and a closed, I have one. Now if I had a second closed, let's see, Nico's sending us some stuff. Ooh, Nico, I'm a little lost. Not sure exactly what that is. Tell me more about that later. All right. Because that just looks like... Okay. So, all right. So we need to increment. So P in P1. Actually... we're going to want to take this in as a variable. All right. String. Yeah, okay. Change string and char P in string. There we go, because it's just parentheses. All right. And then we'll deal with that later. We are going to do P1. All right. Well, first, let's just print P. Hey, Vinky, track the left and right parentheses and store it as the longest if both left and right count are equal. Bing. Well, all right. I'll give you, here's an edge case. They have to be, because I know what's going to happen now. What happens if we do them in reverse? So here's a problem. edge case. The only edge case with that, they're gonna have to count up and count down. Because what happens if I have, let's do this. That's equal, but not a legal parenthesis. So be very, very, very careful. We need to count up and count down. So I'm going to be incrementing up and then incrementing down. So I know this sounds weird because if I were to count them open and closed, because as they occur, I want to close them. And again, this may not be, we may want to change this as a pair or have something, if string P left plus 1, else right plus. Okay. Probably going to try something like that. But I do want to go here is because that would, I don't understand what you're coding right now. Is that, Nico, is that for me or Vinky? Because we're going to have to do a test to see if this is open or closed. So if count was open or the previous one was closed for you and Vinky. All right. Well, right now, if they don't match, reset both. Okay. If they don't match, meaning if it is not the opposite. See, and that's kind of where I was going with this. So if this is 1, because I was also thinking that as we had an open, we would decrement it. If here we go. 1. Let's just get this to run. All right. So right now we have open and closed. But Nico, what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth between how am I deciding as a human that I'm to count this as 2. I'm trying to come up with the basic building blocks of how do I know this is 2. Like, how would I explain this to a 5-year-old? If a 5-year-old just jumped on here, why am I counting this as 2 and not 3? Because this is an open and closed. Because we also need to be prepared to count this as 8. But to then only count this as 4. How would I teach a 5-year-old to count it that way? And I'm trying to build rules right now to accomplish that task. Because you build the building blocks for the rules or the formula, just like we did with the taxes yesterday. And then the more complex it gets, the least I need to understand it because I built the building blocks. Hang on one second. Let's see. And one more. Let's see. And done. All right. That didn't take but a minute. All right. So Vinky's got, if it doesn't match, if it don't match, reset both of them. Right, left, right equals 0. So basically, if I have, because right there, I would count, because for it to be legal, it has to be open. So we're going to go through here. All right. If P is equivalent, not equals, equivalent to, open count increment 1. Increment 1. Seriously? That is really weird. Okay, Nico, I hope you get to feeling better, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. All right, so now, as we're moving through, and we're having this pointer, so I'm wondering if we need to go through here and index instead of just incrementing through. Because in this example, we would be open, and then go back through. Because we'd be down here into this loop. So I'm going to go open. elif. And then we're going to close this out. Let's see. Then we're going to close, because I really don't care about closing, because I care more about pairs. Pair. And then the longest. Not lengthest. Okay. Longest pair. And then, because right here, because we have to handle consecutive and nested. Because right there, so in this example, we could accidentally have a problem and have this be basically a closed and an open, and if we messed up our counting, we could accidentally say 6 instead of 4 right there. So, all right, we're going to have to go through this really, really carefully and think about this. All right. So open. elif. Because I'm thinking, because I know when we used our elif p equals closed, and if open count greater than 0, all right, then open count decrement 1 pair count increment by 1. Let's change this to pair count. All right. Let's see. I haven't checked the image in a while. All right, we're good. All right. Print pair count. Let's see what this does. 1. Let's try. Okay, so it works for that. Let's try this. We're going to the moon. We're just shooting for the moon here really fast. Let's see what comes out with this. I don't think this is going to be capable of handling this. So this catches 4. All right. 1, 2, 3. Holy crap. That worked. This can't be that simple. Because that's 8. Okay, well, because now what I needed to do was when we get done, so we take pair, so the pair count is 4. This is 1. Now we need to test to make sure that it's not going to fail. Let's try, because parentheses. Now we know, so that's working, but we're not going to catch it if it breaks in the middle. Let's add one more here. Let's see what happens. Oh, and we also need to take parenthesis count equals pair count times 2. And parentheses. All right. Now we're trying. Let's get rid of that. So we get 8. Hey, Jan, how are you? All right. We're trying to tweak a coding challenge that came through on Discord yesterday. So we have this edge case testing. We kind of threw some stuff against the wall and have this so far, but now we're not. Right now, the pair count, we need to do a test every time if pair count greater than longest. And we also need to throw in a really weird edge case. I'm doing all right. Okay, so this is where. So the temp, we need to make sure. So how did we human brain know that this is 6? So how are we deciding, because we're closing here. Because then our count, and then here we go. If so it's going to override if pair count greater than longest, then longest becomes pair count. So then longest. All right. So we've improved this. Now we need to handle. when to reset. So we're counting. Well, let's see if we can handle. Let's put a nested in here. Let's see. So right now this should return 10. We're going to check this. All right. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Jan. All right. So let's see. All right. So that works because we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right. So we've solved the nested problem. We need to come up with when to start over. So a reset. So now let's engage our human brain, our pseudo brain of why do we know that is, because this should turn into 6. So if we run this, we would want a piece of code to return this as 6. So so maybe an else. All right, let's go through this. Else pair count goes to 0. Pair count goes to 0. All right, so I'm just throwing this against the wall, and let's see what happens. All right, we can't be this lucky. So now we need to have is Kent on here? Because let's get some really crazy stuff from the coding platform to test. Let's see. Because right now this seems to be exactly working. Because this is the longest one. Because it's 1, 2, 3. Illegal. So three pairs. That's 6, and then 1, 2. All right. We're gonna try that. We're gonna see. We're gonna make. Oops. That's 6. So illegal. 1, 2, 3. So 8. Let's test this. Here we go. Holy moly. All right. So everybody, let's just kind of. Was it? It's not. Is it Janth? Let's see. Everybody's missing out on some pretty cool stuff because this is kind of what I'm talking about. Let's see if Janth is. That's how I would say it. Janth. Janth is asleep. Janth, I think we have it. If you can jump on the stream. Okay, so does everybody see how in the world I went about this? And I hate that Nico wasn't feeling well and had to drop. So let's go through what in the world I've done. So I didn't know if I was going to need to index this, but so I took pseudocode, I took human brain, And I went through and I was like, well, how am I determining this? So I made my paths. So let's expand this and make sure we can see every little step here and make this step out. So I have one that is blocking us. So if I get rid of this, I should go up to, so that's 6, and then 6 more, 12, 14. Let's see how this handles with spaces. 14. Okay. I thought all of this was going to take all day because I had no idea. All right, so we have quite a few folks jumping on here. So if you have not hit that like button, go ahead and hit the like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. And if you are brand new, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. So what we're working on right now is, this came up yesterday while we were doing we had a Discord server question that came through, and I wasn't going to do it because it felt like homework, but then the person who was working on it solved it. So I was like, this is a great question. So then during that challenge, I saw somebody post, and you're able to follow along. If you've not jumped over to the Discord server, go ahead and do that. The invite link is down below. And so it's from a coding platform, so I don't feel very bad trying to do this. So what the individual that was on was having a really hard problem. So, and the question, the problem itself did not very well articulate. So here's actually the way it reads on the website. Given a string containing just the characters, I call it open parentheses and close parentheses, return the length of the longest valid well-formed parentheses substring. So it gives these two little handy examples here. Hey Dax, how are you doing? We're doing a coding challenge off of a popular website, and I actually kind of fell backwards into the solve, so we're kind of going back over it. We stumbled through it a lot faster than I thought. So the two examples that it gave, well, it gave three, an empty string. Woo. Great example. But now where it really got complicated is nested. So I thought it was going to be kind of like this. Find the longest substring of parentheses. Well, then we had an example of nested parentheses and then open and close parentheses. So what we did is we took a very, convoluted, complicated open and closed, and then we threw one in here. So if we threw an extra one in here, let's test this. I should have a fail somewhere. I thought I just added one. There we go. All right. So let's check all this. What should be the longest? So this is, where's the illegal one? There it is. All right. So that'll be 3 pairs, so 6. Then this should be 8. Have we already tried this one? Yeah. Let's move it here. It just added. Let's put it on the inside. And Spider's helping me do this. I do not I do not. There we go. Perfect. Illegal. So we have 1, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Because that's illegal. So this should return 8. So we're really doing edge case testing right now. Aha, so wrong. All right, so this should return 8. Let's check. Let's check and make sure. Because the longest over here is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So this should be 8. So we do have a problem. So this is not resetting. Aha! Because I have some open parentheses here. So we do have a little bit of a bug. And this is why edge case testing, so just like I have in the title of the video. Hey, Unfinished, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. So what we're doing is we're really finishing up some edge case testing. We have a lot of the scenarios being captured, but we do have we just found a really weird edge case, so that if I have some open parentheses that are extra, it will keep counting. So we need to solve. We're going to be going back to human brain pseudo algorithm here in a minute, but this is exactly why edge case testing is in the title of this video. You have got to continuously figure out what are some of the craziest situations that can go through, and the more edge cases, the really odd scenarios, you're going to push your code, you're going to strain your code, you're going to really test it and take it to the limits, and all that's going to do is you're going to understand you're going to understand the problem more. And I cannot drive that part home of this is the beginning building blocks of understanding the problem, because everybody really thinks that edge case testing is just testing. No, it's, do you really understand the scenario? So I really think about that for a minute of what I just said, because this is how I understood the problem before we came up with this scenario. So the way that I devised the decision-making process, or the algorithm, of how I'm trying to translate Python into human brain. So I was going through here and counting and looking at open parentheses and saying, okay, if it's still open, go and do this. But we just found one. So my Python did not translate from my human brain to here. So let's go. So right now, Spider's already saying, hey, you have you have a bad count. So it is already running this algorithm right here, if you think about it, because it can look at this string and examine this string and go, you have asymmetrical parentheses. So if you look, red is bad, green is good. So that's the bad one. That's the bad one. So it's expecting. So if I were to add 2 more closed parentheses, I would make this completely legal. Because if you think about it, it's going to highlight the corresponding parenthesis as I go through. And right here, it goes, hey, you are missing a parenthesis, and you are missing a parenthesis. So we could get very, very complicated and begin to look on outers, but I don't want to do that. So let's just go through of how I'd be doing this with human brain. So I'd have open, closed, 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 open. So right now, so in this example, I had I returned 2. So when I comment this out, Let's test and make sure this is a great issue. Well, thank you very much. Whereabouts are you? Oh, is that? I feel like I've seen that type name. Is that a Japanese name? I feel like. No, is that Korean? Hang on a second. Oh, I want to say I've seen that last name before. Possibly. I can't quite remember. So, all right. I feel like Vietnamese. That is so awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. If you are new here, make sure you're hitting that like button for me. And if you are brand new to the channel, please make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. And also jump over to the Discord server. There is a Discord server invite link. So what we're doing right now is we're going through. All right, cool. So it did not regress. So the additions that I made with this code did not make this one invalid. So we're slowly going through and we are counting the legal parentheses. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we have a little bit more than normal here today. So we're going through, and I hate that the Janth, who was posting this on Discord yesterday, is unable to join us. So we've done a lot of the heavy lifting. So right now, this is a little buggy. So we are not resetting when we get to, so we're probably overcounting. I want to check something. This should, we're gonna do something here. We're gonna copy this one. I want to make sure that this will come up with 4. This should be 4. I want to. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So this is working, and there we go. So our problem is, let's see. We got some stuff going. Oh, we got folks joining the Discord. That is awesome. Actually, sometime today, probably already today, we are passing 1 million views on the channel, which I can't even really wrap my head around that I've had 1 million views of all my videos, even though I know I know it's a small channel, but that number, because I looked at it this morning, it was 999,000 and like 300 and something. So we get about 600 a day, 6-7. Actually, no, we're not going to hit. I'm overzealous. We're going to hit it tomorrow because I only get about 500 a day. So I was yeah, I used to get 600 to 700 a day. But yeah, 7, we need 600 and change. We need let's see. We need, slowly pulling it up. We need 702 views, so we'll hit it sometime tomorrow. All right, so I digress. Well, thank you very much. So, and so we're at 314 members on the server, which that is crazy, and I just love this community. And everyone here has been great and really supportive and spending their time and coming and hanging out with us. So we've got to solve this bug right now. So what this means is we are overcounting right here. So we're not, so we have open, close 1, close 2. So if we if we go to open, if open, here we go. I feel like it's right here. I feel like if we come and it's open, but we just had, what about the reverse? Then Keith, elaborate on that, because I think we have to have a distinction right here. How am I knowing? Let's think of an edge case, because what I want to do because I need to know the one before. Because I think if what I'm thinking, Python brain, human brain. So if I have an open here, if I have an outstanding open, and I'm still opening, but my previous one was closed. So do I have a pair? Wait a second. If I have a pair already, nope, because this is legal. Because I can have pairs and have another open. But the reason why this is bad is I have, okay, hang on. For P in reverse scan from back. Well, I think we'd have the same issue going the other way. So what our issue right here, this is what I see the issue, and everybody can disagree. So what my issue is do I have an outstanding open and I'm starting a new open? But these are legal, and I'm just waiting on closes, and I'm missing a close. So once I go to this becomes legal. I have no, and I just have then illegal over here. So this is illegal because I'm missing a closed parentheses here. So how am I deciding that this is illegal? I'm deciding because I have, all right, how am I deciding? And this is the trick of moving from pseudocode human brain to Python brain. So human brain, I know that I am not counting and I have a problem. This is 4, and then I'm stopping counting and I'm counting these 8. Why am I doing that? Because I have a break. Okay, so how am I deciding that I have a break? That is if you can summarize and drill down, and we can improve this verbiage here, we will be able to teach anybody any coding challenge ever. So that's also why I do these things, is because when you explain something repeatedly, you become exceptional. And also, when you think about something over and over and over again. Now, I'm not equating myself to Albert Einstein, but I want you to think about this. He took 30 years to formulate the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared. Then it made perfect sense after he did it. But it took 30 years to devise that. That is the difference. So he saw it in his head, and then he understood it, but he had to draw it out mathematically to prove it. That's the difference. So that's math brain. So he saw it in his head, he goes, I get how this works. Now I need to convert this from this to over to there. And that's that step. So, all right. So we have a dilemma here from pseudo algorithm to Python algorithm. So I'm coming through here, and I am missing a closed parentheses. How am I deciding that I am missing a closed parentheses? Because I am deciding, as I am starting over, 1, 2, 3, and then I have 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Because we don't want to, because we saw earlier, we don't want to do a straight count, because if I do this, if I go count my opens and closes, if they're even, we have a pair. Well, I've already devised a edge case that is flawed, because that would pass the closed and open. So we have found a very good edge case right here that our algorithm is failing on. It is returning 12, and it needs to return, I believe, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 times 2, 8. It needs to return 8. So if the last one, if it's a pair, no, I'm not deciding that. Do I need to? Oh, I really don't want to do an index. Oh, I don't want to do an index. Or do we need to build this? Wait a second. We could build a string. That's what we're going to do. We're also going to build a string. We're going to build a sub. And we're going to look back. All right, so let me get this out of my head. So we're not going to have to index this. We're going to build this backwards. So we're going to, as we increment through, and when this resets, longest sub, do we need, we'll just get the sub going. As it looks back at the end of the sub. So if this is an open parentheses, and so why human brain? So why am I saying we're going to reset? Why does this need to go to here? Because I looked here and my last one was closed and I had an open. Bingo. Here we go. All right. So as we're opening and we're going through, we are adding to our pair. Sub increment P. Sub increment P. And else sub equals blank. All right, follow me along here, what I'm doing. So what I'm doing, so I'm not just count. So our human brain just isn't just counting. We're looking. Hey, what is this last? All right. So I got an open one, but what would the last? What was that last thing over here? So if this would have been a closed, we'd be good. But since I already had an open, I have an outstanding open. Let's go back. So I have an outstanding open. So I cannot have this be another open. All right, so now we need to turn this into Python brain. So what bucket? So if I have an open, increment by 1. But also, if this is open, what was the previous one? And do I have an outstanding open? All right. Let me go through that again. If my last one was closed and I have an open one. So this is legal because I have an open one. So 1, 2, 3. So now this is legal because I have my open is basically 3. So let's come up. I have an open of 3. So then I subtract and I make a pair. Subtract, make a pair. Now when I get here, I have open is equal to 1. So I'm expecting this to be a closed. Then I go from there. So we just need to decide, is this here or is this here? So this is here, so we have an issue. We don't have an issue, but we need to solve this. Let's do something. We want to make sure this works. So F9. Okay, Y. Okay. Sub. Okay. All right. So now, not in only concatenate string. Sub plus 1. Oh, oops. Plus P. You guys see what I did? So what I did is I had an issue right here. I was excited and I incremented by 1. I'm incrementing by the substring P, which is the next character. So that's what I did here. So I did this because this worked. So I ran this, I highlighted this and ran F9 so I'd have the code here so I could go back and look, because I'm about to change this, and if I break it, I want to be able to go back. So right now I'm about to change, let's actually do this, changing here, delete 81 if broken. All right, so I do that. So if I'm about to change something, I know where to go and and delete or undo, because this is the downside of dyslexia, is I will be sitting here and I'll be like, which one was it? So debugging is not easy for me to do, because this all looks like all that looks the same. The only reason why I found this is because it told me to go to 86, so I knew exactly where to go. All right, that's the only reason. So now, all right, so let's go back human brain for just a second. How long have we been on? Hour 8 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Hour and 10 on the actual OBS. All right, so let's go back human brain here for a second. So I'm deciding that I'm starting over my count because I'm expecting this to be a closed parentheses, because my open count is still 1. So my open count, this is okay if my last one was also an open. Or this is okay if my last one is closed and I do not have an open count. You following me? So this is okay This is okay. This is okay. This is okay. Okay, okay, okay. Now, this is still okay, and that's okay. Because I'm here and I restarted and I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2. And what I'm doing is my human brain is going, all right, I just restarted because I had an open count, and this is now, so we need to mess with this a little bit. I've already thought of another edge case where we're going to have an issue. But this is bad. We're going to start over. So my temp and my longest, because I'm expecting this to be a closed. And it's not. It's an open. So I have an open. So now, so I need to handle, what is this situation? If this is normal. So, but my problem here is I'm resetting because I have an outstanding open and my last one was closed. So we've got to work on Python going from our human brain decision. So my sub P was here, and I have here, and I have a problem because I have an outstanding open. So let's work on converting that to Python brain. So because we want to leave this the same and as normal. So if open and open count is equivalent to 0. Here we go. Do this. Else open count equal to 1 to 1. Oh, for the love of God. And pair count equal to 0. All right, so this is how we did this. So now we need to test pair count, open count equal to 1. If open count equal to 0, nope. Let's see what happens. So we had a whole thing right here. So let's check. Nope, we went backwards. So we're gonna, that's not it. Let's see. And all of this, right? Is that right? Let's compare. And boom, 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 boom. All right, so that was a good attempt, but it was wrong. All right, so let's see. Oops. getting a warning from YouTube saying the stream is dropping. Let me check for here just a second. I have 4,700, 4,600 on my stream. It's saying it went back. Rupesh, how are you? So what we're doing is we're doing an online coding challenge of counting legal parentheses. So what we're doing is I've found an edge case where we are not resetting properly. So it's on a pretty well-known website, and the examples that we were given were counting these right here, and the algorithm is good at finding these. But now when we've gotten elaborate and we have a reset here and we're missing a closed parentheses, we're not catching that. So the output that we would expect on this example should be 8 legal parentheses, or 4 pair. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pair of parentheses, pair times 2, 8. But our algorithm is returning 12 because it's counting these 4 as well, and we need it to reset right here. So we're having the challenge of going from our pseudo code, or our human brain, of making the decision of breaking here. Just did a failed attempt of changing some code here, and we went all the way down to 2. So that's what we're working on right now, because what we found in the examples of the documentation of when the code challenge started, this is actually all of it right here. And it gave 3 examples, 3 poor examples if you ask me. And it gave where it would say, okay, here's a string, you should return this. Here's a string, you should return 4. And I was like, okay, this is simple. It's going to be something like this, where you're going to have a dynamic window, and you have 6, you have 2, you have 8. And I was like, okay, simple. Well, it's actually not that simple. It could be this. This would also return 8. So you can have nested parentheses, because it's completely legal in Python to have nested and contiguous parentheses. So right here we have it working pretty well, but we do have a dilemma. And what I'm really trying to drill home is edge case testing, because by edge case testing, you truly and thoroughly understand the problem. And if you can walk through, because that was actually one of the first questions I asked as we were designing this at the end of the day yesterday, I started giving examples of, well, was it this or was it this? And then Janth on the Discord server gave this example and confirmed that this would return 8. And we are trying to work on this. And then also, I believe this right here, I believe we already confirmed this would return 8 as well, because this is now the longest. And this should return, in this string that we have here, this should return 8, and right now we're returning 12 because we're inadvertently counting these 4 along with these 8. And I've got to devise a way that our human brain is going, okay, I'm resetting this because, oh, wait a second, I didn't go back and look at P. I just realized what we were doing. So what I've added is I've added this substring right here. So as we're doing. So in our human brain, the reason why this resets is because this is an open parentheses, and the last so the reason why this resets is we still have an open parentheses, and our last one was a closed parentheses, and we have another open. So that's why this fails. So if everybody was paying attention to that, what I wrote was half correct. I did not look back at the index -1. I did not look at sub -1 to see that it was a closed parentheses. While if the open count, let's see, open count was equal to 1. So here's the scenario. This resets, or this is what I believe the scenario is right now. This resets if this and this are true, because we would not continue counting. And I believe that's it right there. So let's try that again. All right, so I was half accurate. So do we all agree? I feel pretty confident that's why my human brain is saying this needs to start over. So I still have an open. I have an outstanding open. Open count is equal to 1. My last substring that I added was a closed, and I'm having this. So now, if open count, what was it? Okay, we're going to do the reverse. So if open count greater than 0 and sub -1 equivalent to then open count equals 1. Else here and pair count equals 0. All right. Let's see. Do I still have? All right. Let's try this. Let's see what happens. This should be 8. And this is 4. All right. Sub and sub increment p. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 6. Ooh, let's see what sub is. Woo! All right. Sub. There's a sub reset to P. Let's try this again. 6 sub. All right. I think we're getting off into the woods here for a second, because we were much closer. So where's this getting? where are we getting 6 from? And why isn't sub? Because I would expect, so we have a mismatch on our substring, our latest substring, and then, okay, longest substring. All right, we're go. Let me set this to an empty string. So we're getting a little. 6 is true. I thought it was supposed to be 8 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should have 8. So we've lost this. Oh, look. Okay. Human brain miss. So check this out. This is doing exactly like I told it to, but this is 8 because this is legal. But I'm resetting here. And this is 6. So now we have another caveat. This is why I love this. So this did exactly like I was supposed to here. So the longest should be right up until now it should be 4. But now this is failing here, and this is 6 because I have So if I were to go, okay, so we have a little bit of a dilemma. Oh boy. Now, okay. Now why did I count? Now, so I've explained in Human Brain why this has to reset and why this is the longest. So now we have a dilemma. Now why am I continuously counting? So this is bad, but this is good. So now how is my human brain figuring this out? How did my human brain, because this is 6. How many spaces are there in these two spaces before the last one? Okay. Rapish, ask that again. You may need to go put that in Discord if you've not joined. How many spaces is that? Is there 2 spaces before the last one? No. Don't get hung up on spaces. I'm adding the spaces so it's a little bit easier to read the parentheses. So what the issue is, so we solved this reset. But what the dilemma is now the rule that I made up was I was saying that we have, since we have an open and a closed, and these are contiguous between the brackets. Parentheses? Did you mean parentheses and not brackets? So here's our dilemma. Let me go back over and attempt. So right now, our algorithm is returning 6, what I have highlighted. That is partially correct because of the rule that I, and then here, then longest longest sub equals sub. So now when I run this again, okay, yeah. So I think now here's a perfect example. We're in the weeds and we're talking about two separate things. So I'll try to go over that again. We want our algorithm to return 8, and we want it to return these highlighted, because my human brain is going, that's 8. Now the rule. So we just solved a rule that right here I'm restarting because I had this over here. So actually, this rule is not going to work. And this is how I've talked about pseudocode and problem solving and truly understanding the problem. Because the reason why this is turning into 6 and not 8 is because what I said is, if you have an outstanding open parenthesis and you have a new open parentheses, start everything over. But what I really should have is, how did I read this? If I have a pair, whoo, and I really don't want to do this, have to go through this more than one time, but it's looking that way, because if I were to add, watch this, I just added 2 more. Let's just see what happens here. This is still 6. So now my new algorithm is completely wrong, because watch this. This is now 100% correct. And this is like 20. So 1, 2, 3. Because all of these are legal. So that's there. So how many is this? P1. P_1. Let's get rid of all these spaces. Oops. Whew. When P1 16. So that is now 16 parentheses. And my new rule that I thought was super handy dandy is completely wrong. It is now, so we need to redevise. So our pseudocode, our pseudo explanation is 100% wrong. So let's go ahead and add these all back and see how in the world. I think we got rid of that, and we should have an illegal one there and an illegal one there. Bingo. All right. So let's go backwards. I believe this goes right here. So that's a poor explanation. So how am I deciding that is 8? So it's looking for and constantly having an open. So this works and this returns. All right. So this is catching an open and a closed. Let's look. So this is basically, let's see, this returns 2. Perfect. So, all right. How are you printing the code in the side? How are you using How are you doing it? How am I printing? How familiar are you with Spider? Like, how did I get this? How did I get this to come out over on this side? Is that what you're asking? Because right now I'm using Spider. So when I run if I hit F5 and my file runs the whole file, if I highlight code and press F9, it's only going to run the code that I select, and it also outputs the code. So I do that for, I guess, for my own records, so for my own sanity. So if I want to revert code, I can go and just grab it and paste it back in here. So I've gone back a step because this explanation of how I know to, okay. So yeah, so right now I'm going to highlight all my code, and then press F9. So then I run. And then I come over here, and then I press F5, and it runs the whole file. And it tells me, run the file name, blah, 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 just like that. All right. So now we have to redevise. I had a feeling that this wasn't going to be this easy. So let's uncomment this out. Run this again. We have 12. So I have, why do I know, how do I know as a human brain that this is 8? How do I know this is 8? Because I am seeing that I have pairs. All right, I'm having pairs, contiguous pairs that are touching and are side by side. All right, so I have contiguous pairs that are side by side. So I have a closed, because we just found that if I were to add 2 more, right there, let's make sure, nope, close. Let's run this. 16. All right, so that at least works. I wanted to make sure that, and that's also vital. So when you're devising something and you go and you make a change, and then, hey Nico, you back? Hope you're feeling better. And you go and you make changes, you don't want it to not work on your simplest explanation, on your simplest problem. So let's see. Here we go. If the length of P1 is 16 and you're still taking in a modulo P1 by 2, and if the remainder is 0, then all are, well, we did kind of go through that, but we had an example. Yeah, divisible by 2, but we got to be real careful because it has to be more subtle than that, because if we were to just count the open and closed, we could accidentally get something like this and count that as a pair. So it has, the whole point of this exercise is, how are my eyes, how is my human brain deciding to count the answer to this is 8 and not 6? So I don't believe dividing. I believe it's because I started to have an explanation here where I broke this and I had 4 and I solved this problem, because when I first run this I get 16. Excuse me, I get 12. And so I have these 8 and then I have these 4. But the reason why these 4 aren't included is because of this. So I'm counting. Okay. Because, and this is I'm obsessed with this example because this is this outstanding example of how is your human brain making this logical decision right here, and then how is it making this logical decision right here. Now, how well you understand this from a human brain, the better you understand this, the easier this is to explain to somebody. If I were to get a 5-year-old and sit and explain this, and we were to go through, and so I'm straddling two worlds here: edge case testing, because the better you get at edge case testing, the better you're going to be at programming, because you're going to be prepared for things like, I used to never think of things like this. And when we were actually going through and we were discussing this yesterday, I thought my first understanding was this. I thought it was going to be very simple and clean, and the longest legal parentheses would be 4. And then it was shared, oh no, they can be nested and contiguous. So these 8, because they are contiguous, but now these are nested and contiguous. So this answer is 8, because you have 6 nested and 2 beside it. Well, right now, we are counting all of them, and we are not taking into account this break. And then we attempted, here, let me make this break bigger. We did look and come up with a solution to stop counting these and leave it at 4, but then my explanation was bad because I used, what was my explanation? I got rid of it, but it was something along the lines of open count. Whoa. Count was 2, or was greater than 0, and the substring -1 was a closed bracket. So I thought that worked, and I was like, okay, let's run that. But now, this example right here, whoo, humdinger. So it stops at 6. So if I were to replace that code, I get 6 because I have an outstanding open, and I have this right here. So we have to redefine our human brain and go from here. So we're at an hour and 44 minutes. So I've kind of gone round and round. I didn't think we'd solve this today. I got really, really lucky with this first shot in the dark, but I was expecting this to be pretty challenging because there's like 267 scenarios that gets tested in this. So I'm sure it's a immense number of edge cases where they're going to be all like this. So I think we're going to stop here for the day. Is there anything pressing that anybody needs any help with? Haven't seen anything going on Discord. Nico, I was looking at what you sent. Don't really get what you're sending, because that looks I just don't get that. Maybe you can explain it more at a later time. But is there anything anybody needs? And we'll just pick back up on this tomorrow. I'm going to try really hard to not think about this, because problems like this, I think about when I was back working and I would be given some crazy scenario. I think somebody just joined. Awesome. So we are now at 315 members on Discord. So that is just very, very cool to me. I told my kids the other day that I had over 300, and they were like, "What?" All right, Nico's sending some other stuff. What's this, Nico? What are you scanning? You're scanning. So you have text. Text is there, syntax errors. Okay, that's very cool. All right. That is very cool, Nico. All right. Anything pressing? Like I said, we will pick up. What do you do full time? What kind of full time job do you have? Actually, right now I am unemployed. I got let go from Walmart last month. Actually, coming up on a month. So I've been applying for jobs, getting a lot of rejection letters. I was a data analyst for Walmart, and I'm a self-taught programmer, learned Python, got the job because of Python, learned SQL and VB.NET in about a year, started building rapid applications, and I basically did a lot with the pipeline of data, and really I automated it. I was responsible for application development and anything automated. So we had a small little team of we had analysts, we had project managers, and then our director. We all had different skill sets. I spent a lot of time with Data IQ and the back end with our not personal databases, but our team had and managed some databases that for our internal applications, designed databases, built the apps for the teams that just needed some quick stuff done, reporting, tracking of data, the things that they were using in Excel that they didn't need to be having in Excel, and if anybody left or quit, all that stuff was gone. So we were trying to enter it all and keep it all in one location. Built an app for basically rapid presentation deployment. It was very interesting. Very, very complex queries, drill down queries, Pareto queries, a ton of really cool stuff. So I hated that I had to leave, but I was going to have to move my family across the country, and I was not really into that. And I started looking for other jobs, and everybody else was remote. So I was like, oh, why not? I'll apply. But it's been a month, and it's been weird. So I've been live streaming almost every day for the past probably 3 weeks. So that's real quick if you've just joined us and not heard my story, but great question. Anything else before we wrap up for the day, and then we can see if we can solve, because we have a solve for this, but that same rule misses out on these last two. So we've got to have a caveat of going from there, because I was just thinking about it, the rule is bad. So if I were to add one more close, this would go nope, because we have that to block it. So this would be 1, 2, no, it would be this. What would it be? So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 14. Oh, you're very, very welcome. All right, Nico sent something else. Let's see what Nico sent. It will increase in tuples until it's unprintable. Okay, that's very cool. All right. Anything else before we drop? As we need to solve. So our human brain is doing something that we're completely unaware of. So now this is 14. So we may have to bite the bullet, because this, what will, all right, so it catches that one, because that's right. 14 is the right answer. That's weird. All right. So when we have a break in here, that's when it gets thrown off. So if I were to add this, that's still 14. So it's still counting. It's counting just all the pairs. So yeah, we're not resetting the pairs at all. That's just all the pairs. So that's one more a false positive. Do not be excited when you get the right answer, because it could be a false positive. So, all right, be very, very careful. Okay, last lesson for the day. Anything else before we drop? Thank you very much. Is it Rapish? Okay. All right. Anything else? Going once, going twice, and we'll pick back up. If you've not hit that like button, please go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe. Discord server, a lot of cool talks going on over there. It's actually where this problem came from. Thank you, Nico. 111 minutes. Yep. Is that how long I've been on? Okay. False positive. Yes. Yes, false positive. Be very, very wary that you think you're smarter than you are. It could easily be a false positive. Be very, very, very careful. Like, we got it. Push it, test it, break it, because I just threw it in here and I was like, oh, wow, it will work for that. Oh, nope. It's like there's an old show that I like where somebody shows them something and they accidentally say the word that they wanted them to say, and then they hold up something else and then they say the same word, and it's like, oh. And it's the old adage, nothing I say is new. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So be very, very careful of thinking that you accidentally fell backwards into it, because I did that earlier and it was a false positive. So I'm counting the closes and I'm counting the pairs, but the way we just may need to redesign this whole thing, because when we added that extra line here, let's get rid of that one. So when we run, this is wrong. This is 12. This should be 6. So when we solve this problem, I realize my syntax error. Scan code can also give false positive. Yep. False positives are extremely dangerous. You have to be very, very aware of them. So, all right. So when we handle this problem right here, we cause another problem here. So we have to find a way to merge these two. So there we go. All right, everybody. I'm going to drop for the day. I think it has been a great video, great starting point. I was not prepared, or I was not expecting to be able to solve this in one session. We had a total 100 views today. I think we had either 10 or 11 at our highest peak. Looks like average of 4 hours and 27 minutes. So that's kind of cool. But thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I hope to see everyone tomorrow. All right. Talk to you then, guys. Bye.